Welcome back to our special news bulletin. On the threshold of the biggest global sports festival, the 2026 World Cup about to take place, countless rare events, like never before in any other World Cup, are appearing right before our eyes. The most prominent and painful issue is that millions of passionate football fans are being brutally denied entry right at the border gates and international airports. To organize a worldwide sports festival is an extremely complex issue requiring extremely careful preparation. Yet, right before the opening day, a tremendously painful issue is taking place, shocking the entire sports loving community across the globe. I stand here today not just as a news anchor, but as a storyteller witnessing firsthand the biggest non sporting disaster in modern history. Millions of people from all continents carrying fiery hearts of burning passion and expensive tickets have been stopped right at the gates of heaven. You try to imagine a scenario where you have saved every penny of your salary for 4 years preparing every piece of clothing, flag, and banner only to be stopped by a cold security fence. That is not a science fiction movie, but a cruel reality happening right now at the border checkpoints of the 3 host countries. From the busiest airports on the east coast of the United States to the bustling land crossings at the Mexican border and the strict security checkpoints in Canada, everywhere is a breathtakingly chaotic scene. I receive thousands of reports every hour from colleagues working at the scene, and they all share one key word, which is despair. The endlessly long lines of people, the confused eyes, the tears rolling down the cheeks of children when they realize they cannot enter the stadium to watch their idols play, all create an extremely gloomy picture covering the festive atmosphere. Border guards with tense faces constantly wave their hands to reject passports. The data scanning system seems to be overloaded, or worse, they are systematically rejecting deliberately. Let us dig deeper into the epicenter of this tornado. The round ball has not even rolled on the green grass of the billion-dollar super stadiums when an invisible storm has swept through, destroying all plans and eagerness of millions of people. This is not simply a few isolated technical glitches or confusion about the identification documents of a small group of tourists, but a disaster of global scale. No, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about millions of people. You do not hear it wrong. It is millions of genuine fans getting stuck. Those who have overcome dozens of hours of flying across oceans and continents now face immediate deportation orders or are detained in dilapidated waiting areas at the airport. I have heard audio recordings from the scene where choking cries mix with angry screams, demanding a satisfactory explanation from the authorities. But the response they get is only terrifying silence or cold stereotypical rejections with no human touch. Why does a tournament symbolizing global solidarity become a closed fortress rejecting the very people who created its soul? I have followed football for decades, experiencing the ups and downs of many World Cups, but never have I felt such a surge of suffocation and indignation. The atmosphere at the airports right now is thick with tension. Fans wearing the national team jerseys they love with their faces painted with bright national flags are now smeared with sweat and extreme exhaustion, sitting scattered on the cold floors. The chaos does not stop at personal frustration, but it is spreading into a wave of anger on global media platforms. That wave is hitting hard on the doors of the organizers, demanding transparency and immediate intervention. The authorities and organizers seem to fall into a state of paralysis before the massive scale of this crisis. Emergency press conferences are constantly delayed, making things worse than ever. Meanwhile, the countdown clocks to the opening hour still mercilessly tick every second. Every passing second crushes thousands of dreams. The magnificent stadiums built with billions of dollars in tax money and massive investment now face the risk of becoming empty theaters, lacking the most vivid and passionate sound, which is the cheering of the fans. Sports inherently is a bridge, erasing all boundaries, connecting people with love and respect. but right now it is brutally divided. Let us travel back in time a little bit to see the bitter irony of the current adversity. We look back to the past where previous host countries turned this tournament into a truly complete party from the reception stage to when the final whistle blew. You still remember the most recent World Cup in Qatar, right? A small country located in the middle of the desert, but they did a great thing. They launched the Haya card system, a smart digital identification card, integrating visas, match tickets, and public transportation tickets. With just a mobile phone in hand, millions of fans walked through the control gates in Doha as smoothly and easily as a walk in the park. There was no congestion, there were no desperate screams, there were only smiles and warm hospitality. Going back another 4 years, we come to the vast country of Russia in 2018. The organizing committee then applied a revolutionary initiative, which was the Fan ID system. Millions of international spectators did not need to apply for a traditional visa, a process that was extremely cumbersome and expensive. That powerful Fan ID card acted as a universal passport, allowing fans to move freely through the host cities on free trains. Despite having to manage a massive influx of visitors across a vast territory, Russia still ensured everything operated as smoothly as a perfectly lubricated time machine. Or like Brazil in 2014 and Germany in 2006, where borders seemed to be blurred by music, dance, and cold beer. In these countries, the sporting spirit was put first. Administrators worked around the clock, relaxing immigration rules to welcome the world. They understood that the World Cup is not just a football tournament, but a massive cultural exchange festival. All administrative barriers were minimized to the maximum extent to make room for the boundless enthusiasm and joy of football lovers. However, when we return to the reality in 2026, that glorious picture has completely collapsed, broken into pieces. We are talking about three of the world leading economic powers, the United States, Canada, and Mexico. These are countries possessing the most modern transportation infrastructure, the most advanced information technology networks, and enormous financial resources. Yet they are stumbling miserably right at the most basic step of opening their doors to guests. The weakness in the coordination and organization between these three countries is exposing itself more clearly and painfully than ever. I truly cannot understand how a powerful alliance of three countries could allow this disaster situation to happen. They had a whole decade to prepare. They promised the grandest World Cup in history, with the number of participating teams increasing to 48 teams. The promise of seamless cross-border experiences among the three countries once thrilled global fans. But now those promises sound so hollow and ridiculous. Instead of a borderless experience, fans are facing solid legal walls, systems reporting continuous errors, and a clash in customs regulations between each separate country. You look at this cruel contrast. In Qatar and Russia, they use technology to open the doors. In the tournament this year, it seems technology is being used to slam those doors shut. Excessively strict background check systems are applied mechanically, without accounting for the massive volume of data pouring in all at once. This leads to the collapse of the entire profile processing network, leaving hundreds of thousands of people suspended in an indefinite pending status, even though they had been granted valid visas beforehand. The brighter the glory of past World Cups, the deeper and more frightening the darkness of the current disaster becomes. The valuable experiences in crowd management and facilitating entry from predecessor countries seem to have been ignored or underestimated by the organizers this year. They were too confident in their own strength, forgetting that cohesion and unity in governance is the key to a multinational event. As a result, we are witnessing a tragedy where football tickets worth thousands of dollars are now just worthless scraps of paper, unable to help their owners get through a narrow security gate. I feel extremely heartbroken having to report these things. The images of vibrant football festivals with fireworks lighting up the sky are being replaced by images of security forces lined up heavily armed to the teeth. Eagerness turns into extreme panic. This is certainly an expensive lesson, an indelible stain in the history of organizing major sports tournaments. The past has proven that welcoming millions of fans is entirely feasible if there is an open heart and a smart management apparatus. Sadly, what we are seeing is rigidity, cumbersomeness, and a disastrous lack of synchronization. It is time we pull back the curtain of secrecy to understand what is truly happening behind this unprecedented disaster. I will expose the terrible security loopholes and a series of absurd legal barriers that have turned the football dreams of millions of people into a terrifying nightmare. Clearly, this is not an unexpected incident due to bad luck, but the inevitable result of a crumbling bureaucratic management system and a complete lack of preparation. The core and most destructive cause is the overly grand ambition when co-hosting across 3 countries without any truly effective unified command structure. The United States, Canada, and Mexico promised a borderless tournament, but in reality, they erected 3 completely independent legal bunkers, clashing fiercely with one another during the most crucial moments. Instead of establishing a common portal to process entry data for all fans, each country stubbornly clung to its own security systems, intelligence networks, and visa approval regulations. This lack of synchronization created an incredibly complex matrix of paperwork burying millions of valid applications. A fan from Europe might easily be granted quick entry by Mexico, but as soon as they take a connecting flight to the United States territory to watch the next match of their home team, the American security system flashes red and rejects them mercilessly. This creates a deadly loop where fans are stuck in international security buffer zones, unable to move forward or backward with despair setting in. The situation gets even worse when we closely analyze the state-of-the-art security filter specifically applied for this World Cup. According to reliable internal sources, I have gathered the authorities hastily deployed a highly sensitive artificial intelligence risk scanning system that completely lost control during operation. This system was programmed to evaluate hundreds of strict criteria from flight history, financial origins, to past social media posts of the fans. However, instead of targeting actual dangerous elements, this algorithm constantly conflated innocent fans with national security threats simply because of a few spelling mistakes in their registration profiles or sharing a name with individuals on international blacklists. A disastrous machine error has deprived humans of their legal rights in a heartless and cruel manner. Besides the rigidity of technology, we cannot ignore the pathetic weakness of the computer network infrastructure. When millions of accesses flooded the electronic portals of the immigration departments to scan ticket barcodes and verify visas, the data storage servers completely collapsed right before the opening. It looks exactly like a large-scale cyber attack, but the culprits are not hackers but desperate fans trying to prove their clean identities. The frozen system forced border security officers to revert to manual checking methods, which are extremely slow, cumbersome, and time-consuming. They require fans to present a series of physical documents from red-stamped bank statements, hotel booking confirmations, to sponsorship letters from the organizing committee. In the global digitized era, nitpicking over these outdated paperwork procedures is an insult to the organization of a world-class event. Another root cause that few dare to speak out frankly on mainstream media is the political calculations hiding behind the guise of protecting national security. Instead of viewing the World Cup as a cultural exchange festival connecting nations, some policymakers are using this event as a stage to show off their tough stance on immigration control policies. They issued secret directives demanding maximum tightening of the border gateways, especially for citizen groups from certain regions of the world. It is exactly this discriminatory attitude and overly defensive mindset that has suffocated the inherent noble sporting spirit. Thousands of additional border guards were mobilized not to guide or support fans overcoming difficulties, but to intensify harsh cross interrogations as if they were facing transnational criminals. The consequence of this deadly combination of rigid legal barriers, robotic algorithms, and political calculations is a total congestion paralyzing all transportation systems in the North American region. Major airlines are struggling with thousands of passengers denied entry, creating a massive ticket refund crisis, unprecedented in the history of the aviation industry. Meanwhile, inside the majestic host cities, a series of high-end hotels, luxury restaurants, and tourism services are crying out in pain because their customers never show up. The local economy, which heavily relied on the billion-dollar boost from the World Cup, is now facing the risk of heavy losses due to the negligence of an apathetic public system. I want to emphasize once again so you can clearly see the extreme severity of the problem. This is not an incident caused by adverse weather, nor is it the consequence of any unavoidable natural disaster. This is entirely a man-made disaster caused by conservatism and weakness in macro management. The organizers built the most magnificent stadiums equipped with the most advanced live broadcast technologies, but completely failed in building a safe and convenient path for the audience to reach those stands. The inability to solve the simultaneous immigration puzzle among the three host countries has turned a sports event that was supposed to bear a spirit of global solidarity into a shameful symbol of division, suppression, and bureaucracy. Facing the brink of an irreversible media disaster and massive pressure from global public opinion, the authorities have finally awakened from their bureaucratic slumber. Right at this moment, emergency meetings through the night are taking place continuously at government headquarters in Washington, Ottawa, and Mexico City, with the participation of top officials and representatives from the World Football Federation. The sole and ultimate goal right now is to find an urgent breakthrough solution to save a tournament drowning in a sea of anger and despair. Let us analyze together the last-ditch rescue efforts being deployed strongly across all fronts in an attempt to soothe the rising wave of fury. The first and most decisive step is the decision to immediately suspend the artificial intelligence security scanning system, which has caused countless troubles in recent days. The authorities have realized that they cannot entrust the fate of millions of people to a flawed algorithm. Instead, a rapid human review process has been activated. Thousands of reserve immigration control officers have been urgently mobilized from the armed forces and federal police to reinforce hotspots at airports and land borders. They are granted the authority to bypass the automated computer system to directly process applications based on a very simple principle that anyone possessing a valid match ticket and a passport not on the international police red wanted list will be stamped for entry immediately. Parallel to the personnel reinforcement, an initiative called the Green Corridor has been set up in a flash at all key international terminals. These are separate pathways completely isolated from the regular commercial passenger flow in order to prioritize the release of tens of thousands of fans who are stuck tight. At these green corridors, cumbersome procedures like financial proof or requirements for hard copy hotel bookings are completely abolished. The border management agencies of the three host countries have been forced to sit down together to synchronize data, creating a real-time information sharing network. Now, when a fan is approved by Mexico, that information will immediately be updated into the systems of the United States and Canada, ensuring they will not be unjustly blocked on their subsequent flights. Besides the technical and procedural solutions, an unprecedented diplomatic campaign is also operating at full capacity. The foreign ministries of the participating countries have dispatched special delegations working 24/7 at embassies and consulates across North America. Their mission is to intervene immediately in cases where their citizens are wrongfully denied entry. They work directly with local border forces to provide alternative electronic sponsorship documents for lost profiles. A temporary digital visa valid precisely for the duration of the tournament is being issued urgently right at the border gates. Although this type of visa comes with extremely strict conditions, such as restricting movement outside the host cities for fans on the verge of deportation, this is truly a precious lifebuoy helping them touch their football dream. However, the authorities also understand that to soothe the anger, they need not only quick administrative procedures, but also human care. Emergency relief forces, including the Red Cross and non-governmental organizations, have been allowed to enter the isolation areas at airports to provide food, drinking water, warm blankets, and medical support for those who have had to wait helplessly for days. The tournament organizing committee has also had to issue a formal apology on global media platforms while committing to compensate all travel and accommodation expenses for cases denied entry due to system errors. These appeasement moves, although late, are helping to cool down hot heads, salvaging some rare, sympathetic images in the eyes of the public. The massive pressure from the World Football Federation is also a key factor driving this rapid change. Threats of massive financial penalties reaching hundreds of millions of dollars and the risk of being stripped of the right to host future sporting events have forced the three North American countries to put aside their separate political calculations to act together for a common goal. A joint operation command center has been established under the direct supervision of international sports officials to ensure all decisions are implemented thoroughly without any hesitation or shirking of responsibility. All processes are being pushed to the maximum to race against time as the ball of the opening match prepares to roll on the grass. Will these emergency solutions be enough to save the entire tournament? That remains a big unanswered question, and only time will provide the most accurate answer. Tens of thousands of people have begun to be released from waiting areas, advancing into city centers with echoing cheers. The hot blood of football seems to be starting to flow again in the veins of the tournament. But for many others, the mental and material damages are too great to be compensated by apologies or late travel papers. Regardless, these final efforts prove one thing, that when humans realize their catastrophic mistakes, they still have the ability to fix them and aim for the better values of solidarity and sharing. Look at the bright, tearful eyes of the fans who just held the pass to cross the security barrier. The tight hugs between strangers from different countries, the burst of happy tears when they know that all their efforts, sweat, and patience are finally well rewarded. The police forces, instead of keeping cold, stern faces, have now also blossomed friendly smiles, waving to welcome the crowds advancing into the city center. The gloomy, depressing scene is gradually being replaced by the vibrant colors of flags and flowers and passionate cheering melodies. Life is gradually reviving on the roads leading to the stadiums. Although the recent nightmare has left indelible scars in the minds of millions of people, the resilient and fierce corrective efforts of all classes of society, from the political upper echelons to the frontline volunteers, have lit a new ray of hope. A ray of hope that the core value of the king of sports, which is connection and understanding, will ultimately conquer all division and bureaucracy, bringing a World Cup that, despite being stormy, will be incredibly memorable in human history. We have just gone through an emotional and highly dramatic journey together from the moment the first rays of hope were brutally extinguished before the cold security fences to when emergency rescue efforts were deployed to reignite faith for millions of football fans. The border disaster on the threshold of the 2026 World Cup will certainly go down in history books as the most expensive blood lesson on organization management and the importance of maintaining the spirit of global solidarity. Sports was born to tear down the walls separating humans from humans, not to create more invisible legal barriers, imprisoning, burning passions. This explosive story does not just stop at the green grass of the stadiums, but it also reflects the complex reality of the world we live in. No matter how strong the storm, the love for football, the power of understanding and forgiveness will ultimately always find a way to rise and shine brilliantly. Thank you so much for accompanying me in watching this extremely special news bulletin completely. If you find the analysis and story today truly captivating and bringing a lot of valuable information, then hit the subscribe button immediately so you do not miss any hot sports news in the future. Leave a comment sharing your thoughts on this shocking event. Goodbye, and see you again.